Good evening, America. This is Jeff Desk. I'm here in the studio with the latest developments on these fresh impeachment efforts. Indeed, members of the Democratic Party in the lower chamber of Congress are urging the current leader in the White House to step aside without delay, though if he refuses, they might push forward with removal proceedings starting early next week. They're pointing fingers at him for misusing his authority, claiming his words during a gathering of his supporters fueled the recent unrest at the nation's legislative building. Officials from the executive branch indicate he has no intention of leaving office voluntarily. Plus, word is circulating that he might try to grant himself immunity before his time runs out, something analysts we've consulted say has never happened with any prior head of state. The architects of our founding document clearly emphasize justice under the system, ensuring no individual stands beyond accountability. They designed mechanisms to prevent anyone from deciding their own fate. Such a move towards self-forgiveness would clash with those core ideas, making it seem highly improbable. So, let's update you on the removal push. It appears lawmakers from the opposition in the House are pressing hard for the president to exit immediately. Should he choose otherwise, they're prepared to launch formal charges right at the beginning of the week. Their basis? They argue he overstepped his role through remarks at an event backing him, which they say sparked the incident at the Capitol a few days back. Notably, the administration has stated firmly that resignation isn't on the table. There's also chatter about him contemplating a pardon for himself prior to departing, a step experts describe as unprecedented for someone in that position. Reflecting on the creators of our charter, they firmly back the concept that everyone faces the same rules, including top officials. They built safeguards so no one acts as their own arbiter, meaning self-absolution could undermine those essential foundations. Frankly, it doesn't look like a realistic option. Picture this from the perspective of the man in charge. He probably figured he'd escaped formal rebuke not just once, but on 2 occasions. Yes, he faced accusations in his initial period related to foreign dealings, and later for the disturbances early last year. Yet each time the upper chamber cleared him, allowing him to declare full vindication. He likely assumed, impeachment is behind me now. In this new phase, I'm untouchable. But surveying the legislative body today, he sees that those challenges aren't history. They're intensifying. Democratic representatives aren't sitting idle. They're submitting actual formal complaints, with numerous proposals and various lawmakers leveling a range of allegations directly at him. For instance, consider the proposal from Congresswoman Shreya Nadar. It outlines 7 distinct grounds for removal, such as blocking legal processes, mishandling trade decisions, and issues involving payoffs and unethical conduct. It even touches on establishing unauthorized roles and infringing on free speech protections. That's a full set of 7 potential violations, all outlined and submitted officially. And this is merely one such document. Another sits in the review panel from spring of last year, aiming at him for major offenses and lesser wrongs too. Adding to that, there's an accusation from Congressman Al Green, blaming him for overreaching by demanding harsh penalties against fellow legislators, calling their behavior disloyal. It's a flurry of activity, and the momentum seems to be building. Clearly, tensions are rising on the Hill. There's been a strong drive toward accountability, and it's surprising to consider the scale. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene went so far as to demand a decision on the floor, with 140 colleagues eager to advance it. The opposing side intervened to halt progress, but the backing is evident, just short of what's needed for control right now. Then there's Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici, who in early this year firmly stated that removal is essential. She detailed several justifications like stirring up unrest, improperly handling border controls, launching armed actions without approval, and dismissing large numbers of government employees. She sees these as strong reasons for action, and she's got company in that view. More than 70 from her party support this drive, with key figures publicly agreeing that such steps are required. Yet it extends beyond the top executive. They're eyeing his team as well. Congresswoman Robin Kelly has put forward charges against the head of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, alleging breaches of our core laws, hindering legislative checks, and causing distress in neighborhoods via enforcement agencies, plus other grave matters. Bonamici stresses that both the leader and Noem deserve scrutiny, linking them in this broad accountability campaign. Currently, the opposition is direct about their strategy if they reclaim the lead in the chamber come the elections later this year. They're set to revive these discussions prominently. This isn't empty talk. They have a concrete approach to advance these proposals for consideration. Given the opportunity, they'll proceed against the president, his aides, and others involved. The scenario is brewing into a surge of formal accusations, poised for when the balance shifts. Nothing prevents new filings or discussions on the topic. If the opposition gains even a handful of positions in those votes, the risk becomes tangible. We might witness a third round of charges along with a novel pursuit against an appointee, potentially sparking major institutional questions. For the moment, the focus is on the current majority maintaining their hold, as a change could turn these possibilities into immediate developments. Regarding self-immunity, opinions vary on whether the highest court would back it. However, no clear rules, past decisions, or examples exist since it's uncharted territory. If the lower body passes the charges, the upper one requires a strong consensus, 2 out of 3, to confirm guilt. Even so, the earliest a hearing could start is the day of the transition ceremony. From the studio this morning, this is Bianca Reyes with Fox 59. Thanks, Bianca. Local enterprises have felt the heaviest impact from the health crisis. Discussions on personal absolution are gaining traction, but here's the issue. No established regulations or judicial history guide us, as nothing like this has been attempted. Should the House endorse the allegations, the Senate needs a supermajority for removal. Notably, the soonest proceedings might commence is the inauguration date. Now examining what's formally on record, there's document number 353 in the House, introduced by Representative Parashriya Nader back in spring last year. This includes 7 points against the president. The initial one claims interference with fairness and proper procedures, suggesting meddling in judicial matters and even covert detentions. That's a weighty assertion, evoking concerns over basic freedoms when linked to the nation's leader. Continuing, the next point addresses overriding legislative control over funding, contending he delayed allocations contrary to approved budgets. This encompasses the hold on international assistance, where he paused large sums, prompting the top court to intervene and compel release. 5 additional points follow in that filing, spanning misuse of commercial authorities, actions abroad, speech rights infringements, forming improper positions, exchanges for favors, unethical practices, and overarching dominance. All packed into a single proposal, with the president confronting numerous potential faults, currently under committee review awaiting sufficient support to proceed. Let's outline the total active proposals, their specific claims, and how near we are to another accountability phase. We're exploring detailed official papers that highlight particular severe breaches against the executive and his associates. Allow me to explain these 7 elements, each focusing on unique faults, and it's truly extensive. The opening section delves into blocking justice and disregarding fair trials. It alleges the president has hampered legal operations and disrupted court functions. This involves ignoring rulings and participating in hidden holdings, a concept from global standards meaning state forces quietly seizing individuals without records or rights. It implies the administration applies this in border matters, removing people sans reviews and using undisclosed sites. The wording is strong, positioning it as rights abuses for a U.S. head. The following part examines divisions of authority and funding disputes. The legislature controls spending, directing how funds are used, while the executive implements. Overruling that due to personal views isn't permitted. Still, the president has repeatedly attempted such maneuvers. Instances include the aid pause, retaining approved amounts, and trying unauthorized shifts. These undermine congressional role, marking them as removable offenses. The third element covers mishandling trade controls and foreign interventions. It notes tariffs applied without legal backing and military strikes, sans legislative nod, including attacks on nations and troop placements without sign-off. The document views this as exceeding permitted scope, qualifying as a basis for ouster. Point 4 shifts to protections for expression, an intriguing angle. The president has suggested punishing symbolic protests like flag desecration, which courts safeguard as speech. There's deployment of national resources against demonstrators and pressures on journalists. This equates to leveraging position to curb voices and opposition. When authority suppresses core freedoms, it enters removal grounds. Finally, the 5th concerns inventing invalid roles. Allegations include establishing posts without approval, placing individuals in undefined or unconfirmed spots, basically sidestepping standard processes, forming alternative structures. It's fascinating how these charges build the case against the president. Early ones stress self-focused loyalty, disrupting balanced governance. By weakening the upper chamber's input on approvals, it's a direct breach, warranting action. In particular, the 6th spotlights exchanges for benefits and misconduct. It covers profiting from office, such as overseas entities funding his ventures and linking policy to personal deals. This type of self-enrichment is straightforward, with our founding text naming it explicitly as removable. The originators recognized such flaws could erode governance, hence the direct mention. Then comes the 7th on overbearing rule. It argues the president's behaviors amount to autocratic leadership. He acts exempt from rules, dismisses judgments, challenges key bodies, and targets opponents. He penalizes rivals and favors supporters via his role, precisely what removal aims to counter. This section claims he's overstepped gravely. So that covers part of House Document 353. 7 points overall, each with distinct faults supported by foundational and legal reasoning. They're pending in review, set for advancement if the opposition secures numbers. But there's additional material. Document 415 from mid-spring last year echoes the theme of charging Donald John Trump with elevated offenses and infractions, directed to the same panel. This adds further allegations, increasing the strain. Plus, Al Green's document 939, which reached a decision point. Green employed a special method to compel consideration based on a particular statement from the president urging severe punishment for opposition lawmakers, deeming their work as betrayal warranting ultimate consequences. That's clear overreach, misusing the platform to intimidate peers over disagreements. Green saw it as removable and urged a chamber vote around mid-December last year. The outcome revealed 140 in support of progressing the charges, indicating notable interest in pursuit. Here's the key insight. Almost 1/3 of the body agrees that such presidential warnings merit removal. Yet party heads chose neutrality in the vote, effectively pausing it. They're aiming for a calculated path, assembling thorough evidence, and assessing post-election dynamics this year. But the tally highlighted demand for movement, a signal of existing momentum, just awaiting optimal timing and backing. Don't overlook the appointee angle. In mid-January this year, Congresswoman Robin Kelly advanced charges against Homeland Security Chief Christine Oman. She's alleging constitutional lapses, evading supervisory duties, and distressing areas through border operations, among heavy claims. Over 70 from the opposition endorsed this, creating another layer in a potential wider push. Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici has drawn clear ties between the president's and Oman's cases, asserting both merit proceedings. She cited the president's role in fomenting disorder, abusing migration policies via the department, undertaking unapproved defense moves, and unlawfully terminating vast federal staff. She contends that by executing these directives, Oman shares responsibility and faces similar accountability. At present, the president confronts 3 distinct documents: number 353 with its 7 points, 415 with extra accusations, and 939 on legislative threats, plus the separate pursuit against Oman. Each remains live, accumulating toward a possible major surge if the opposition gains the edge. While top figures in the party are strategic on timing, they've been explicit about intentions. Insights from major outlets indicate that although immediate action isn't unified among leaders, several prominent voices have declared that reclaiming control in the chamber this election cycle would reinstate removal discussions definitively. No uncertainties. It's a solid intention. They're positioned to elevate these submissions for debate, having prepared arguments, recorded issues, and established paths for quick steps if conditions align. The president senses the pressure amid this opposition strategy for accountability. He's been quietly alerting his allies that losing the chamber means removal looms ahead. This isn't speculation. It's his genuine concern from observing developments. With documents already lodged and knowing 140 supported a related push by Marjorie Taylor Greene, a shift in power could activate them all, leading potentially to swift outcomes. This is Jeff Desk. Stay awake, America. We'll see you in the next one.